Filiz Katman. She is the President of Energy Policies and Market Research Centre at the Istanbul Aydin University. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Istanbul is such a melting pot of people from right across this broad country. So how much can we see the result of local elections in Istanbul being reflective of people's attitudes across the nation?
As you have mentioned, it's a kind of mixture of people coming from different parts of Turkey. It has some kind of advantages and disadvantages. First of all, with regard to students, they might prefer to use their votes in their local territory, so they may go back to their original territory. This is one kind of disadvantage with regard to how many votes will be casted. The second thing, which can be an advantage, some students or some people have already moved their polling station to Istanbul. Mm-hmm. So it adds an additional amount of vote to the amount of votes in Istanbul. So with regard to these two factors, the candidates made promises taking into consideration of these two facts. We have seen this in their policies, with their promises they have made during the election. And with regard to the season, the weather is really great today,
isn't it?
So it has a positive impact, because I was in Oxford when the Brexit polling was casted. So on that day it was very rainy and the amount of votes decreased. But today in Istanbul the weather is great, so it will have a positive impact, and we have an increasing dedication to democracy, trust to democracy, which will have a positive impact on the amount of votes casted.
Even though cost of living considerations aren't really something a local mayor has a great deal of control over, it's hard for people to divorce those national issues from their local votes. How much do you think the cost of energy, the cost of living crisis and inflation is going to impact the way people vote locally?
So in local elections, the voters primarily focus on the promises made by their candidates for their local territory. So instead of the general conditions like the cost of living, they try to prefer what kind of projects are made by the candidates. Yes, of course, not only Turkey, but in the entire world we have a hyperinflation, so cost of living increased enormously, but in comparison to general elections, the impact of the cost of living has an impact, but it has a kind of comparatively less impact. With regard to the recent promises that have been made, or recent projects made by the current government with regard to decreasing the cost of energy because of the gas reserves found in the Black Sea region, Sakarya, and the deduction from the gas bills from that amount is a kind of positive impact. But for other things, we have seen the impact of this increase in the cost of living in the promises. So some kind of extra payments to the retired people, for example, for students. These promises have already been announced by the candidates. It shows that, yes, it has an impact, but in comparison to general elections, it is limited.
Great. Thank you so much, Filiz Katman. We appreciate your analysis.